I, 17F, never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am. My mom passed away when I was 4 due to breast cancer. It was just me and my dad for a long time after that. We were really close, and he did his best to be both a mom and dad to me. My dad, let's call him Jack, was always a hard worker. He worked as an engineer at a local manufacturing plant, often putting in long hours to make sure we had everything we needed. Despite his busy schedule, he always made time for me. We had our special traditions: Sunday morning pancakes, movie nights every Friday, and camping trips during the summer. Those were some of the happiest times of my life. As I got older, I started to notice how lonely my dad seemed sometimes. He never dated, always saying that he was too busy with work and raising me. But I could see the sadness in his eyes when he'd look at old photos of my mom or when we'd run into other families at the park. When I was 12, my dad met Karen, 48F, at a charity event for cancer research. He'd started volunteering there in memory of my mom, and Karen was one of the organizers. They hit it off immediately, and within a year, they were married. It all happened so fast, but I was happy to see my dad smiling again. At first, I was hesitant about Karen. I worried she might try to replace my mom or change our family dynamic. But she was actually really nice and went out of her way to make me feel comfortable. She never pushed herself on me as a mother figure, instead positioning herself as more of a friend or aunt. Karen had this way of making everyone feel special. She'd remember little details about people and use them to make thoughtful gestures. For my 13th birthday, she surprised me with tickets to see my favorite band, remembering a casual comment I'd made months earlier. It was things like that that made me start to trust and like her. Karen told us she was a widow too. Her husband had supposedly died in a car accident when her son Tyler was just a baby. She'd raised Tyler on her own while running a successful marketing consultancy. I remember being impressed by her strength and thinking how perfect she seemed for my dad. Tyler, 22M, was in college when Karen and my dad got married, so he didn't live with us full time. But he'd visit during breaks and holidays. Tyler seemed okay at first, but there was always something a bit off about him. He was really clingy with Karen and would get upset if she paid attention to anyone else, including me or my dad. I remember one Thanksgiving when Tyler had a meltdown because Karen was helping me with my homework instead of watching TV with him. He stormed out of the house and didn't come back for hours. Karen was really upset, but she just kept making excuses for him, saying he was stressed about school. Despite these occasional hiccups, things were mostly good for the first few years. Karen integrated well into our family, and my dad seemed happier than he had been in a long time. We even started taking family vacations together, something we hadn't done since my mom died. I have fond memories of a trip to Yellowstone where Karen and I stayed up late, roasting marshmallows and stargazing while Dad and Tyler went fishing. But then, about 6 months ago, things started to change. Karen began acting secretive, always on her phone and leaving the room to take calls. My dad noticed too, and I could tell he was worried. He tried to talk to her about it, but she'd just brush him off, saying it was work stress. I started noticing other things too. Karen would get really nervous whenever the mail came, rushing to grab it before anyone else could. And she was always forgetting her wallet, asking my dad to pay for things and promising to pay him back later. Last month, everything exploded. My dad came home early from work one day and found Karen in a heated argument with Tyler. Apparently, Tyler had been asking Karen for money again. This wasn't unusual. Tyler was always broke and asking for handouts. But this time was different. Tyler was threatening to tell my dad something if Karen didn't give him the money. My dad intervened, demanding to know what was going on. Tyler, probably thinking he could get more money this way, spilled everything. It turns out Karen had been lying about her past this whole time. She wasn't a widow like she'd told us. Her ex-husband, Tyler's dad, was very much alive. She'd left him years ago and taken Tyler with her, cutting off all contact. She'd been lying to avoid paying child support and alimony. But that wasn't even the worst part. Karen had also lied about her career history. She claimed to have been a successful businesswoman before meeting my dad, but in reality, she'd never held a steady job. She'd been living off alimony from her ex-husband, which is why she'd run when the payments were about to end. As Tyler ranted, more and more lies came to light. The cancer charity where she'd met my dad? She wasn't an organizer, just a low-level volunteer. Her college degree? Non-existent. Even her age was a lie. She was actually 5 years older than she'd claimed. My dad was devastated. He confronted Karen, who broke down and admitted everything. She begged for forgiveness, saying she'd lied because she was afraid my dad wouldn't want her if he knew the truth. But my dad was too hurt and angry to listen. He told Karen to pack her things and leave. Since then, our house has been chaos. Karen keeps trying to contact my dad, alternating between begging for another chance and threatening to take him for everything in the divorce. Tyler has shown up drunk a couple of times, yelling and demanding money. My dad is a mess, he barely eats or sleeps, and I can tell he's struggling to process everything. I don't know what to do. I feel betrayed by Karen too, but I'm also worried about my dad. He's always been my rock, and now I feel like I need to be strong for him. But I'm only 17, and I'm not sure how to handle all of this. I've been trying to keep things normal, cooking meals and making sure the house is clean, but it feels like everything is falling apart. I'm angry at Karen for lying to us for so long, and at Tyler for being such a leech. But mostly, I'm scared. What if my dad never trusts anyone again? What if this ruins him financially? We were happy before, and now it feels like our whole life was built on lies. I keep thinking back to all the moments we shared as a family, wondering if any of it was real. Did Karen ever really care about us, or were we just a meal ticket to her? And how could we not have seen through her lies? I feel so stupid for believing everything she told us. I could use some advice on how to support my dad through this, and maybe some insight on how to deal with my own feelings of betrayal and anger. Has anyone else been through something similar? How did you get through it? Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their kind words and advice. It really helped me feel less alone in all of this. The day after I made my post, my dad sat me down for a long talk. He apologized for being so distant and explained that he'd been meeting with lawyers to figure out our options. It turns out that because Karen lied about so many things when they got married, there's a good chance my dad can get an annulment instead of a divorce. This would protect a lot of his assets and potentially keep Karen from getting any alimony. My dad's been working with a lawyer named Rachel, 38F, who specializes in cases like ours. She's been amazing, patiently explaining everything to us and working tirelessly to build our case. She even uncovered more of Karen's lies. Apparently, Karen had been married and divorced twice before meeting my dad, not just once like she'd claimed. Karen didn't take this news well. She showed up at our house late one night, clearly drunk, and started pounding on the door. She was yelling about how we couldn't do this to her, that she'd changed, and that she deserved another chance. My dad called the police, and they took her away. The next day, we filed for a restraining order. Tyler has been causing problems too. He keeps showing up at my dad's office, harassing his co-workers and making scenes. My dad's boss has been understanding so far, but I can tell it's taking a toll on my dad's work life. We're looking into legal options to keep Tyler away too. On a more positive note, my dad's sister, Aunt Sarah, 50F, came to stay with us for a while. She's been amazing, helping around the house and providing emotional support for both of us. She's even been driving me to school and my activities so my dad can focus on work and legal stuff. Aunt Sarah has always been like a second mom to me. After my mom died, she'd come stay with us for weeks at a time, helping my dad figure out how to raise a little girl on his own. She was the one who taught me how to braid my hair and helped me shop for my first bra. Having her here now feels like a lifeline. One interesting development is that Aunt Sarah managed to track down Karen's ex-husband, Mark, 53M. He was shocked to hear from us and had no idea where Karen and Tyler had been all these years. He told us that Karen had cleaned out their joint accounts before disappearing, leaving him nearly bankrupt. He's been looking for them ever since, trying to get Tyler back and recover some of the money. Mark shared some stories about his life with Karen that made my skin crawl. Apparently, she'd pulled similar stunts before, creating elaborate lies about her past and manipulating people for money. Mark said he caught her in several affairs, and each time she'd turn it around and make him feel like he was the one at fault. Mark seems like a decent guy who got screwed over by Karen just like we did. He's been helping my dad's lawyer build a stronger case against Karen. It's weird to think that if things had been different, this man could have been my stepdad instead. As for me, I'm doing okay. It's been hard seeing my dad go through all this, but I'm proud of how he's handling it. He's started seeing a grief counselor to work through his feelings about Karen's betrayal and to process some of the unresolved grief over my mom's death that this whole situation has brought up. I've been keeping busy with school and my extracurriculars. My friends have been really supportive, especially my best friend Emma, 17F. Her parents even invited me to stay with them for a week to give my dad some space to deal with everything. It was nice to have a break from the tension at home. Emma and I have been friends since kindergarten. She was there for me when my mom died, and she's been my rock through all of this too. She comes over almost every day after school, helping me with chores or just sitting with me when I need to vent. I don't know what I'd do without her. One of the hardest things has been dealing with the gossip at school. Somehow, word got out about what happened with Karen, and now everyone seems to be talking about it. Some people have been really kind, offering support and sympathy. But others seem to enjoy the drama, whispering and staring whenever I walk by. I'm trying not to let it get to me, but some days it's really tough. I've also been struggling with trust issues. If someone like Karen, who I lived with and loved for years, could lie about everything, how can I trust anyone? I find myself second-guessing everything people tell me, always looking for hidden motives or lies. My dad says he feels the same way, and we're both working on not letting Karen's actions poison our relationships with others. Right now, we're just taking things one day at a time. The legal proceedings are moving forward, and we're hoping to have some resolution soon. I'll update again when there's more news. Update 2, it's been another 2 months, and things have finally started to settle down a bit. The court granted the annulment, which was a huge relief for my dad. Karen tried to contest it, but with all the evidence of her lies, plus testimony from her ex-husband Mark, the judge ruled in our favor. The day of the final hearing was intense. Karen showed up with a sleazy-looking lawyer, trying to paint herself as the victim. She claimed my dad had known about her past and was only pursuing the annulment to avoid paying her alimony. But our lawyer, Rachel, was prepared. She presented evidence of Karen's lies, including falsified documents Karen had used to back up her fake history. In the end, the judge saw right through Karen's act. Karen didn't take the news well. She showed up at my school one day, causing a huge scene in the parking lot. She was yelling about how I'd ruined her life and turned my dad against her. It was pretty scary, but the school security handled it quickly. We've since upgraded our restraining order to include my school and other places I frequent. Tyler has mostly disappeared from our lives. Last we heard, he was living with Karen at a motel on the outskirts of town. Mark is trying to reconnect with him, but Tyler doesn't seem interested. It's sad, but I guess years of Karen's influence have really messed him up. On a brighter note, my dad has been doing much better. The grief counseling is really helping, and he started to open up more about how he's feeling. We've been spending a lot of quality time together, just the two of us, like we used to before Karen came into our lives. It's been nice to reconnect. Last weekend, we went through some old photo albums together. We found pictures from when I was little, back when it was just the two of us. There were photos of my first day of school, of us building a snowman in the backyard, of my dad teaching me to ride a bike. Looking at those memories, we both realized how strong our bond is and how we've always been there for each other. It was a powerful reminder that no matter what happens, we'll get through it together. Aunt Sarah went back home last week, but she calls to check in every day. She's been a real lifesaver through all of this. Dad and I are planning to visit her for Thanksgiving this year, which I'm looking forward to. It'll be nice to get away from all the drama and just enjoy being with family. One unexpected development is that Dad has been spending more time with Mark. They bonded over their shared experience with Karen, and now they meet up for coffee or a game of golf pretty regularly. It's a bit weird for me, but I'm glad Dad has found a friend who really understands what he's going through. As for me, I'm doing okay. My grades took a bit of a hit with all the stress, but I'm working on bringing them back up. I've also started volunteering at a local animal shelter, which has been a great distraction and really fulfilling. There's something therapeutic about spending time with the dogs and cats, giving them love and attention. It helps me forget about my own problems for a while. We're not completely out of the woods yet, there are still some legal loose ends to tie up, and we're both still processing everything that happened. But for the first time in months, I feel like we're going to be okay. Update 3, it's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm happy to report that things have continued to improve. Dad and I have settled into a new normal, and life feels pretty good most days. The biggest news is that Karen finally left town. We found out through Mark that she got a job offer in another state and decided to make a fresh start. Part of me is relieved, but another part feels sorry for her. I hope she gets the help she needs and finds some peace. Tyler reached out to my dad a few weeks ago. He apologized for his behavior and said he's been going to therapy to work through his issues. He's living with Mark now and trying to rebuild their relationship. Dad was wary at first, but they've had a few phone calls since then. I'm not sure if Tyler will ever be part of our lives again, but I'm glad he's getting help. Dad has been doing great. He's thrown himself into his work and even got a promotion recently. He's also started dating again, which was a bit weird for me at first, but I'm happy to see him putting himself out there. He's been very open with me about it, always checking in to make sure I'm comfortable with whoever he's seeing. He's been on a few dates with a woman named Laura, 49F, who he met through a local hiking group. She seems nice, and it's good to see Dad smiling again. They're taking things slow, which I appreciate. Dad's made it clear that I'm his priority, and he won't pursue anything serious unless I'm okay with it. As for me, I just turned 18 and am getting ready to start college in the fall. Dad and I took a road trip to visit my top choice schools, which was a blast. It was nice to spend that time together and dream about the future. We talked a lot during those long drives, about Mom, about Karen, about our hopes and fears. It felt like we were finally able to put a lot of the pain behind us and look forward. I've decided to major in psychology, partly because of everything we've been through. I want to understand why people like Karen do what they do, and maybe help others who've been through similar situations. Dad's been super supportive of my choice. My volunteering at the animal shelter has turned into a part-time job. I love working with the animals and have even started helping with some of their social media outreach. It's been a great way to build some skills and make a difference in my community. Emma and I are planning to room together in college. We've been best friends for so long, and after everything that's happened, I'm grateful to have someone I trust completely by my side as we start this new chapter. Looking back, I can't believe how much has changed in a year. It was tough going through all of that, but in a way, I think it brought Dad and me closer together. We've both learned a lot about resilience and the importance of honesty in relationships. I still have moments where I feel angry about what Karen did to us, or sad about the family we thought we had. But those moments are getting fewer and farther between. Mostly, I'm just grateful for the good things in my life, my dad, our health, our home, and the opportunities ahead of me. I'm sure we'll face more challenges in the future, but I feel like we can handle anything now. We've got each other's backs, and that's what really matters. As I get ready to leave for college, I can't help but think about my mom. I wish she could see me now, heading off to start my adult life. But I know she'd be proud of how Dad and I have handled everything. In a way, I feel like going through all this has made me understand and appreciate her memory even more. So that's where things stand now. Life isn't perfect, but it's good. Dad and I are healing, growing, and moving forward together. Thanks to everyone who's followed our story and offered support along the way. Your kindness has meant more than you know.